In today's Nigeria, insecurity has become a daily reality for millions of families, businesses, and communities. Crime isn't confined to headlines, it affects people in their homes, on roads, in markets, and even in schools. The National Bureau of Statistics Crime Experience and Security Perception Survey, Nigerian households experienced an estimated 51.9 million crime incidents in just 1 year, with rural areas slightly more affected than urban ones. Among those incidents, some home robberies accounted for over 4 million cases, a staggering figure that highlights how common opportunistic and violent thefts have become. Kidnapping has also surged dramatically. Official figures estimate that millions of Nigerians have been abducted, with strong evidence that the real numbers are even higher due to widespread underreporting. Half of Nigeria's kidnapped victims reportedly paid ransom, often at great personal and financial cost. In regional breakdowns, the Northwest alone has seen thousands of reported abductions, accounting for more than 60% of cases in some analyses. But the security threat doesn't stop there. Banditry. Armed criminal groups operating especially across the Northwest and North Central has ballooned over the past decade. Research shows attacks linked to bandit groups grew from just 100 incidents in 2018 to more than 1,000 by 2022, and thousands of lives have been lost in bandit-related violence over recent years. These armed groups frequently combine kidnapping, robbery, murder, and terror tactics, striking villages, travelers, and farms with devastating consequences. Then there's armed robbery, which remains one of the most persistent violent crimes. Police data say hundreds of armed robbery cases are reported every quarter in major urban centers like Abuja, where thieves use firearms to seize property and intimidate victims. In larger national operations, thousands of suspected robbers and violent offenders, including those linked to armed highway robberies, were arrested across the country, underscoring both the scale of the problem and the ongoing effort to contain it. Together, these crimes, kidnapping, banditry, and armed robbery, create a climate of fear that affects everyone from families in remote villages to commuters on major highways. That's why Watch Your Back isn't just a program or slogan. It's a survival strategy. Today we break down the trends, the danger signs, and what every Nigerian needs to know to stay alert, stay safe, and protect their loved ones in an increasingly unpredictable security landscape. On this episode of Watch Your Back, a security expert, Dr. Yahuza Getso, will look into kidnapping, banditry, and robbery, what every Nigerian must watch out for.
It's for me to be security conscious. You have to be conscious of your environment. You have to be mindful of the things you say. Be mindful of the kind of information you give out. Especially in the social media, you have to be conscious of the things you post or those that you share your information with. You don't just jump into any discussion like that. You should be mindful of the discussion you keep, the discussion you involve yourself in, the circle of friends you have, and your neighborhood. You should be mindful of even about your kids. I mean, the kind of friends they keep and all that. I advise the public to be mindful of, like I said, talking about myself, I advise the public to limit the kind of things they say and the kind of things they post. Yes, I advise the general public to cooperate with the security personnel. Live your life anyhow. Don't just live anyhow. You are just existing like that. You're supposed to be conscious of yourself. That's it. Okay. And the issue is that even in our country presently, our major challenge now is not even food, is insecurity. That is that people are no longer safe. You see, they come to people house, they will kidnap, they go to people's farm and they will destroy and all that. You know, So I advise the government to really look into the crime. They should not only focus on the urban environment. They should go to localities, especially where the villages, where the poor masses are. They are vulnerable. Some people can no longer go to their villages because their villages are deserted. They are taken over by banditry activities. So some people can no longer farm. They should go to many people now are in IDP camps, and that is not people's ancestral home. How long will they remain in IDP camps?
What I do to avoid kidnapping and armed robbery, there's no way that you can avoid them because uncertainty can really happen. But as well, as an individual, after work, I don't normally go out. After work, straight to home, or if I have any activity that I have to do during the day, I'll make sure that I don't stay out late in the night and go. But while traveling, I go through the day. But as I said, uncertainty can happen. Kidnapping normally happens during the day. It can happen during the time. It's just that you try your best and be safe, and whatever that comes your way, the fate can happen.
So I'm always at home to protect myself from all this kidnapping. I don't used to go out in the evening or in the night to protect myself. And I'm begging government to let them provide more security for us to protect the Nigeria, because they're Nigeria, they are insecurities.
You know, this kidnapping of this Nigerian, all these bandits, you understand, is getting too much. But what I'm trying to advise all Nigeria youth and even fathers or mama to protect their children from all this going about, as in going where they did not send them to, because you don't know what will happen, because everywhere in this Nigeria now is very, very corrupt. So you don't know. You will be walking around the road now. You don't know what will happen next. They will just come and carry you, because many things is happening along the road. You understand? Many people did not travel this year because of what? Because of bandits, which is very, very bad. So government need to do something about this bandits and all this kidnapping of something.
From interlocutory injunctions to prima facie or ex parte order, this is where we focus critically on numerous unresolved cases in the Nigerian and African judiciaries.
Dasuki's case revealed some sort of lacuna in terms of our criminal justice system. Okay. You will recall that Dasuki was granted bail, and just before he left the court premises, he was rearrested.
One of the laws guiding extradition is that if it is seen or alleged that the essence of repatriation or extradition is for persecution, it will shield those people. There is a circumstance that makes this woman not to be extraditable by Nigeria on the point of intention to persecute rather than prosecuting.
My name is Charles Agedu. Join me on Code Files for overview of cases, their respective prosecuting agencies, institutions, accused persons, the state or level of trial, as well as how, why, and when such cases were last heard. We also take a look at issues around delay in dispensation of justice. Code Files, a chronology of unresolved crime cases, only on Third Eye Africa TV.
I report. Have you ever witnessed a crime or suspicious activity around you? Don't stay silent. Take action. You can now report crimes easily by sending videos to us on I Report. Record a video and a brief narration of the incident with the location and send to 0701 372 8007 on WhatsApp only. Your action could help save a life or stop a crime in progress. Stay alert, stay safe, be the voice
In recent times, Nigeria has experienced a surge in crime incidents, especially kidnapping, banditry, and armed robbery. What does this say about the state of security across the country?
Well, looking at the outlined activities as you mentioned, and looking at the criminal and crimes in Nigeria, it's really not organ well. It's not really showcasing Nigeria as a country that have taken the issue of insecurity very well. To some extent, we can, first of all, we need to look at the outlook on how Nigerians perceived security management. The perception of the larger population of Nigeria's security management is that the security challenges or managing security is the responsibility of armed forces and paramilitary. The population believe that whatever they see, whatever fault, whatever mistake, and whatever challenges is the responsibility is saddled to the security agencies and the managers of the security in the country. At the same time, the larger population are not providing adequate and right information as at when due. And even those informations, those who have been able to provide those informations, they have not really been utilized accordingly. In most cases, people will see something and will refuse to say something until when it happens. Then they will start saying, I saw Mr. A, Mr. B, they just passed around me, and so on and so forth. And looking at the zones, horizontally and vertically, we can say that almost the cases of insecurity challenges are really looking are really almost the same thing. Even though in most part of the northwestern part of the country and north central part of the country, the major challenge is kidnapping, banditry with some radical religious groups, and some border influx, and also some other criminals that have emerged, like Lakurawa and others, that the system or the operating system have not been doing well in managing them. Now, in the northeast, more of Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other Al-Qaeda allies, even though there are lots more of issues of kidnapping, also banditry, phone snatching, and so on and so forth, political thuggery, narcotics business, narcotic consumptions, and so on and so forth, armed robbery, burglaring of houses, assassinations, high killers, and the rest. And when we look at the southwest, more of the Yahoo, 419, arm importation, and other connivance with most of the foreign bilateral related crimes are mostly in that area. And going to the south, and southeast is more of agitators and also more of the cases of communal rivalry, as well as those who are political and economic challenges. So generally, Nigeria, more than 70 to 80% of Nigeria has been engulfed by crimes and criminals that have a complex situation, fighting back, and government is trying its best. We are not saying that government is not doing anything, but I believe government can do something better and very useful.
All right, sir. Still talking about kidnapping and banditry, I want you to help us understand the difference between kidnapping and banditry, particularly at a time when both groups are after collecting ransom. You see a kidnapper collecting ransom, and you see a bandit also collecting ransom. So as the security expert, I want you to help us shed more light what kidnapping is and what banditry is.
Well, kidnapping and banditry is a combined behavior being conducted by criminals, mostly Fulani militia. Even though Fulani alone cannot do the crimes and are not doing the crime alone, it's a connivance. there are compromises, there are complicits, there are Hausa, there are Yoruba, there are Igbo. There are almost all the tribes in north central Nigeria and northwestern part of Nigeria who are participating directly or indirectly and providing required financial and administrative, human capital development, and the other transportation and other logistics perspective for procurement of essential services, armament, and so on and so forth. So it's a combined behavior. You cannot distinguish between kidnapping and banditry. Okay. It is more or less a combined behavior being partaken by members of those who believe in it, which is becoming a more lucrative business because of the financial inducement, because of the engagement with arms, because of the consumption of narcotics, and because of taking advantage of mineral mining activities, taking advantage of killing, taking advantage of kidnapping for ransom, and also terrorizing the communities, so that the northern Nigeria, where most of this activity happens, will be kind of, the citizens of northern Nigeria will be more scared and then find it very difficult and uncomfortable. Because I can tell you, more than 80% of north central Nigeria and northwestern part of Nigeria is in terrible situation, whereby there is absolute need to do something quickly. Otherwise, the situation is getting out of hand, because it started from very far, remotely, and then it continued to expand to political wards, to local governments, expanded to the states, and now to semi-urban, and now to urban cities, and almost more than 98% of the roads in northwest and north central, as well as northeastern part of the country, and almost all parts of Nigeria are not safe because of the fear of unknown, and not really unknown. We can define this unknown as kidnapping and banditry, as well as other activities of other criminals. Though government under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have declared state of emergency on security. However, many of the agencies don't really understand and are not really willing, are not really wishing, and they don't even understand what it requires for them to key in. Because it's not just about declaration. It is all about translating, and practicalizing the declaration, making it happen, and ensuring that all hands are on deck for us to fight the insurgents and also to fight the kidnappers and bandits and deal with the situation accordingly. It is necessary for us to have Operation Know Your Neighbor, and then understand who is on our streets, who is a stranger on our market, who is stranger around our ministries, who are the strangers around our line, private and public institutions, and doing what and for what reason, and how do we define those activities, and how are we collaborating, how are we partnering, how are we collaborating, and how are we strengthening our border activities, and also how are we synchronizing Nigeria's community, a Nigerian community, Nigeria's community, Chadian community, Nigerian communities, Cameroon communities, Nigerian communities, Benin Republic communities, and all other states that we are bordering, because we need to understand those things. And the challenge is, yes, of course, the bandit kidnappers, Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Saru, and all other allies, IPOP, and the rest of them, may have the control of our border, of the land areas. But who have the control of the airspace? I believe government have the control of the airspace, and government must sit to its responsibility in managing and dealing with the situation accordingly.
Banditry and kidnapping activities, reportedly, we have over 60% of kidnapping cases and also banditry. Why is this region? Why is this region vulnerable, and how can communities overcome this?
Well, the reason why the region is more vulnerable is because 99.9% of those who are committing the atrocities are citizens and indigenes of the region.
Okay.
There are very few and minute number in terms of number of foreigners who are conducting mostly mining activities as well as trading of arms and ammunition. But 99% of those who are committing those offenses are Nigerians, and they are citizens of North Central, Northeast, and Northwestern part of the country. We know them, we know who they are, we know where they are, and we can find them by polling units, by political what, by local government constituency, by state assembly constituency, by federal constituency, and by national assembly constituency. So it is because of issues of weak governance. Most of the governors in the northern part of the country in 19 states have no sincerity in purpose, and not only in the northern part of the country. These governors are not honest. They don't believe, they don't even understand why they were elected. So they are only working towards attaining their political mission and vision. They are not after commit themselves and ensuring taking the primary responsibility of governance, which is providing security for lives and property. And as far as I'm concerned, there are issues of influx, there are issues of mining mineral resources, struggle for mineral resources. There are issues of political influx. There are issues of bilateral influx. More issues. It is Nigeria is vulnerable than any other country. I believe it's something we can manage, but we must be serious and honest, which we lack. And there are lots of more of informers, lots more of connivers, lots more of unscrupulous elements among the citizens of the northwestern part of the country, among the security personnel working in the northwestern part of the country and almost all parts of the country. And there are issues of unemployment, rising inflation, economic hardship, and so on and so forth. Citizens and Nigerians must eat, they must drink, they must associate. So those associations, drinking, eating, and so on and so forth, cannot be sustained, cannot be achieved without having a food to eat. So Nigerian government has been making it very difficult for Nigerians to have access to food. It's not about making the food affordable, but why are the resources, the money? Do we really have economic activities that can enable Nigerians to be able to purchase the food and prepare it and to eat? There are so many issues why northern Nigeria is more vulnerable to banditry, kidnapping, as well as the religious radical activity than other parts of the southwest, southeast, and south-south.
So since the people responsible for these atrocities are part of are living in the communities, how can these communities overcome this, and how can they stay safe?
Well, this can be achieved if 7 outline things can be made. 1, let's have Nigeria at heart by all citizens. Let's have Nigeria at heart, to believe in Nigeria, because one of the biggest problems is we are only in Nigeria, we're only claim to be citizens of Nigeria, but we don't have Nigeria at heart. Okay. So we must regain that lost glory. Secondly, we must understand our neighborhood. Thirdly, we must hold people accountable and responsible. Fourthly, we must consider the security agents as partners and as collaborating team, so that there will be more security and the larger population. And number 5, we must combine working relationship between non-profit institutions, non-formal institutions, and the formal institutions, traditional leaders, religious leaders, civil society, armed forces, and paramilitary. And number 7, we must have a system of sanctioning those who have been given the responsibility to be held accountable for A, B, C, D, and F. And finally, number 7, there must be an effective monitoring strategy to ensuring that those partnerships between the formal and non-formal is working, not only written.
All right, let's go to Kwara State. And not only Kwara State, even Kogi, Katsina, and Zamfara states. And recently in Niger State, we've seen activities of bandits, particularly in Kwara State. And presently, some communities in that state is deserted. So do you think fleeing their communities is the best way to stay safe, or is there something they can do as resident of that community?
Well, you know, Kogi, Kwara, and Niger have more thicker forests than other part of the north central, and northwestern part of the states. So as a result of that, the criminals have been fleeing for certain reasons, which time may not permit me to discuss it at length. But one of those reasons, green posture, where there are a lot of greens for their cows and others to take advantage. And also the governors, the predecessors of the present governors, and even the present governors, have not really taken it very serious. They have not stuck to their responsibility in order to manage the situation. And number three, the population, the citizens of Niger, as well as since 2001, 2018, 2019, and 2021, have been making efforts to provide necessary information required for the states, and warning Niger State, Kogi State, Nasarawa, Benue, among others, to take proactive measures to prevent what is happening now. But they remain so adamant, nobody listened to me. Everybody remain quiet and assume I'm just creating space for myself. So now the result is coming. I have won this state. I provided required and necessary information. Fortunately and unfortunately, I have not been attended well. And even the federal government have not taken me serious. And even though whatever I talk, I normally provide backup as an evidence. So the community have contributed. The weak governance have contributed. The unscrupulous elements are contributing. As armed proliferation is also contributing, as well as the communal clashes and rival groups, political rival groups that have been operating in Kogi, Niger, and others. Something quickly need to be done. Otherwise, we will have nobody to blame but ourselves.
So do you think fleeing their communities is the best way to stay safe, or is there something they need to do?
The community are expected to do the 7 outline I have mentioned for northwestern part of the country and north central part of the country. So the communities of Niger, the community of Kwara, the communities of Kogi needs to strengthen working relationship and even understand their neighborhood, understand who are the strangers and what are they there for, and understand the terrain very well, and also strengthen non-formal sector of the security, and also improve the working relationship between formal and non-formal sector, and to have effective monitoring, and also hold people responsible and accountable for whatever happened or whatever is happening.
So talking about negotiating with bandits, over time we've seen communities negotiating with bandits, especially in Katsina State. But this has, however, not yielded result, because we still hear of attacks, particularly in Katsina State. Now that negotiating has failed, what is the way forward?
Well, you know, at the time when they were discussing it, not even when they started implementing, I said they are not negotiating, they are deceiving themselves. Because community are not authority. Local government is not responsible for security matters, even the state. It is more or less a responsibility of the federal government in collaboration and partnership with the state and federal and local governments to address the bedeviling security challenges, not really the community or rather the... How can you negotiate with somebody and allow the person to go back with his arm, and you don't even have a good knife that can use to cut onion in your house, and you say you are negotiating? You are negotiating what? You are just deceiving yourself. Because now moving forward, it is now left for the government at the center, that is the federal government, to do the needful. It is either these guys surrender their arms or government take necessary action. I don't believe in anything negotiation. I can't believe in anything negotiation. And I believe Nigerian government and Nigeria have competent, capable, assiduous, and legitimate and to deliver the mandate of addressing the insecurity. I don't see what a country are we by just 249 million. Because the population of Nigeria is estimated to be around 250. The total number of the criminals in the country across board are not up to 1 million. So how can we allow 1 million, only 1 million, to commit atrocities and overpower 249 million? This is just a joke. Do we really have a government? If we have a government, is our government really responsible? Who is really not doing what? And why can't we hold A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, whatever, accountable on the responsibility and authorities given to them?
So you have the school of thought that communities or even states should not negotiate with bandits. Now that the negotiation is not working, what can they do? What option do they have? Should they go after this bandit? Because we've heard cases where this bandit will say, if you kill one of us, we will kill 20 or we'll wipe out the entire community. So what can communities do? What can states do?
If government cannot do it, if government cannot be responsible, if government is not able to take its responsibility.
All right, sir. We've been talking about banditry and kidnapping. Let's look at kidnapping. Let's look at armed robbery, because it continues to be a major threat, especially in urban areas. Recently, we see people complain about their businesses attacked by armed robbers. So what tactics do you think these robbers use, and how can individuals and businesses protect themselves?
Well, the inflation, will continue to responsible, continue to have a weak government, to have lack of sincerity and purpose in managing security. The member of the and can support by three things: by ensuring that personal surveillance tools like CCTV cameras and others, that at least even local matches and other things that they can use in protecting themselves, or at least scaring the criminals. And number 4, there must be a strengthened working relationship between the neighborhood.
So
this issue of know your neighbor, or know your neighbor I'm talking about, is very essential and very necessary. People should take it very serious. Know your neighbor, because by the time we understand our neighborhood, by the time I know your neighbor, you know your neighbor, he know you are his neighbor, they know their neighbor, we'll be able to distinguish, to understand who are the strangers on our streets. And the neighborhood doesn't mean in the communities where we live. I'm referring to neighborhood in terms of market neighborhood, transportation neighborhood, business neighborhood, and other social and economic activities neighborhood. Wherever you are, define who is part of you. And is he part of you? If he is not part of you, then he's a stranger. So why is he around? So we must be able to define things as they are. Until and unless we are ready to do so, that's the only way forward for us to be able to attend to issues. And to, if we cannot, we can never get out of it. The armed robbery, the kidnapping, through understanding our neighborhood and strengthening neighborhood relationship. and providing CCTVs only in our houses, even on a street, and fix CCTV within your market, business place, within your offices, even in your car. There are CCTVs that you can install we can install on our vehicles, even on the motorbikes, even on the bicycles. There are CCTVs that we can operate, and make sure that not only us, even our relations, they should have access to those codes. Sometimes they can assist the security even in conducting investigation and the follow-up on who commit what, when, and why.
So, talking about the current security strategies, do you think they are adequate enough to combat kidnapping, banditry, or do you think the government should come up with more reforms in the fight against these crimes?
Adequate what?
Okay. Talking about the current security strategies, do you think they are adequate enough to combat kidnapping, banditry, and armed robbery, or do you think the government needs to come up with more reforms in the fight against these crimes?
Adequate. Yeah, of course they are adequate.
Okay.
Only that, what are we doing to manage to deal with the corruption? Corruption must be fought squarely and sincerely and honestly and practically before these measures to be useful. Complicits must be identified and be dealt with. Compromisers, extorters, complicit, and the unscrupulous element in all strata, in all locations. We must be able to address those things for the measures to be effective. The measures are weak because the government is weak. Okay. The measures are weak because our judiciary is weak. The measures are weak because we are not holding people accountable and responsible. There must be accountability mechanism. We must fight corruption. We must deal with complicit. We must deal with compromisers. We must deal with extorters. We must improve the welfare of our personnel. We must change the way we recruit our personnel. We must improve on how we handle and manage the unscrupulous element among Nigerian citizens and among the Nigerian personnel. And we must also strengthen our border activities. Informal border. We must define who we are, and all hands must be on deck. It is not the responsibility of Mr. President. It is not the responsibility of the head of securities or ministers of relevant security ministries. It is not the responsibility of the head of security agencies. And it is not the responsibility of traditional or religious leaders. It must be my responsibility, your responsibility, her responsibility, his responsibility, their responsibility, and our collective responsibility. So it needs total overhaul for reorientation, national reorientation, as well as fixing our judiciary, because our judiciary is in total mess.
All right. Your last word for Nigerians with kidnapping, banditry, and armed robbery creating fear nationwide. What practical advice would you give Nigerians to stay safe and alert?
There is no practical advice I will give beside what I have discussed recently. That's the only way forward. I will only keep repeating myself because the question is relevant. I have already answered your question.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
All right.
Thank you, our viewers.
Thank you so much.
See you next time.
Yes, sir. And that's Dr. Yahuza Getso, a security expert. He has been talking about kidnapping, banditry, and armed robbery. What Nigerians need to watch out for. And that's what we have for you on this episode of Watch Your Bag. It's so good to have you join us on the program. This is Third Eye Africa Television. My name is Margaret Ogumesi. Join us for another interesting package of the program.